Hello and welcome to this episode, everyone. In this episode, we want to discuss about a very important function in Python, that is the input function. Basically, using input function, we will be able to take the data that we need for the program from the user. Okay, so now let's go and see how we can do that. Basically, we are going to use the input function. So as you can see, it's a function and Python recognizes it and it makes the color of this function yellow, you can see. And then we've said that functions, they would always involve parentheses. So we would open the parentheses, and as you can see, this function takes a prompt. Basically, it takes the message that you want to provide to the user, that what do you want from the user. So we want to say that, or we can say that, how old are you? That is our question to the user, and we want to take the input based on this question from the user. Now the input function will provide this message to the user, and it will wait for a while, and the user will input some data and will press enter, and the data will come back to the input function. Now the input function needs a variable to be able to store that data, right? Otherwise we will simply lose the data. Nothing is going to happen. So we need a variable on the left side of input, and using the assignment operator, so that we will be able to store the data that we got from the user, put it back here inside a variable. So we call this variable age, and we put it in here. So let's go and run this program. I'm going to save, and then I'm going to run. And as you can see, Python is providing this message on the screen. How old are you? Exactly the same message that we used in here. And then if I click here, Python is waiting for some kind of an input. Here I will provide 23 and press enter. And now basically this 23 is received by Python, and it's stored in this variable age. Now let's go and use this data that we got from the user. Okay, so what we want to do is that we want to print a message to the user. Basically, we want to tell the user that which year they were born. Roughly, it's not a very accurate calculation, but a rough estimation of in which year the user were born. So we will say that you were born in, and let's calculate the year that they were born. So now, right now it's 2024. So I'm going to subtract 2024 from their age, and roughly we will get the year that they were born. Okay, so now let's save, and let's go and run this program. And as you can see, how old are you? It's asking. Now I'm going to enter 23, and I press enter, and I get this error. This error is saying that in this line, you can see it's showing the line, and it's also saying line 2. So you can have a look at the line number in here, and you will also see the line itself, and it's actually showing us exactly where the problem is happening. 2024 minus age. This is exactly where the problem is happening. So it's saying that this is a type error, and the subtraction operation that we are doing, it's not possible to be done on an integer with a string. Basically, it's saying that you cannot subtract a string from an integer. And I'm surprised. I used 23. So how come my data, which is 23, which is supposed to be an integer, Python is seeing it as string? So that is because for input function, everything that you enter in here, it will be considered a string. So whatever input that you provide using the input function, it will always be a string. Whether you provide a name which is a string basically, or even you provide a number, that is still a string. So what do we need to do? We need to convert this data into the appropriate type. The appropriate type would be integer, obviously. So we say age is equal to int age. Now we have converted age and we have put it back inside age. Basically, convert age, which is a string, into an integer and put it back into age so that that change is saved. Now age in here is going to be an integer and our calculation could work. So I'm going to save again. I am going to run again. Okay, let's delete and then run again. Okay, now it's saying how old are you? I'm going to say 23 and click, and it's saying you were born in 2001. All right. Okay, I made a bit of a mistake in here. You see that I used a comma. So when you use a comma, you should not use a space in here, because comma by default, it creates a space. All right, so let's go and run this program once again with a different age. Let's say another age, 40 years old. And I press enter and it can tell me that I was born in 1984, roughly. It's not very exact, but roughly that year. All right, so that's how the input function works. Let's go and maybe have another example with input function. Okay, let's go and clear this example and use another example, which in this example we want to take the name of the user using the input function. So we use the input function, we open the parentheses. As always, parentheses is a must for a function. Then we provide the prompt, basically the message that is going to be presented to the user. What is your name? Okay, then I will provide a question mark, which is helpful, basically showing that you're asking a question and you're expecting an answer. Then I also provide a space in here. This space is very important so that there is a bit of a space between your message and the input that you get from the user. All right, okay, now I'm gonna print some message back to the user, and I'm gonna use hello and the name of this person, hello, whatever their name is. Okay, so hello, a string, then I use a comma outside of the double quotations, then I put the name there. All right, let's go and run this one. I'm gonna run it, and as you can see, what is your name? My name is Naeem. I'm gonna enter, and then it says hello Naeem. Now as you can see that it didn't have any problem with changing the data type, because as we said before, the default type of data that input returns for you is a string. All right, so that's why there's no need to change the type of the data that you receive using input, because we simply need the name of the user and we want to print it and nothing much really, and that's why it works perfectly fine. And basically, even if we don't use the comma, we use the plus sign, which is the string concatenation. So basically what you're doing is you are concatenating this hello message with the name, so you're making one giant string. And string concatenation is only possible when you have two strings, right? So this wouldn't be an issue at all. Why? Name is a string. All right, let's save it. Let's clean and let's run. What is your name? Naeem. Enter. And as you can see, this concatenation also worked perfectly. Why? Because input always gives you the data that you receive. The type of that data is going to be a string. All right, so that's it, a bit of an introduction about input, and we will be using this function in the coming episodes. So stay tuned, and I will see you in the coming episodes.